Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a time where certainty is celebrated. We applaud strong opinions, quick judgments, and decisive action. And in many ways, that's understandable. Clarity cuts through confusion. Decisiveness gets things done. But beneath this surface lies something we rarely stop to question. A quiet danger that hides in plain sight. It is the belief that we already know. Not just know something. Not just have confidence in our experiences or knowledge. But the belief that we've arrived. That there is no more to learn, no room left to grow, no reason to doubt ourselves anymore. This, I believe, is the most dangerous sign in a person. It doesn't make headlines, it doesn't cause a scene, it doesn't announce itself with rage or fire. Instead, it settles in slowly, like fog rolling over a landscape. It makes everything seem normal, but dulls the edges of curiosity, shuts down the openness to other voices, and stiffens our ability to evolve. And what's terrifying is that it often looks like strength. It masquerades as wisdom, when in fact it's simply the absence of inquiry. It feels like certainty, but it's a closed loop. A room with no windows, no doors, no air. This kind of inner rigidity happens to people quietly. A teacher who stops listening to their students. A leader who stops taking feedback. A partner who believes they've heard it all before. A parent who's convinced they've nothing left to learn from their children. But let me ask you this. When did we decide that growing up means growing still? That wisdom means holding fast to what we've always believed. That age, or status, or success makes us exempt from the need to stay open. The truth is, growth doesn't end. Not 18, not at 40, not at 70. Growth ends only when we decide we've had enough of it. When we stop asking, why, and start saying, I already know. That's the moment learning stops. And when learning stops, so does understanding, so does empathy, so does connection. Think of how often we see conflict, not because people have different views. That's human. But because no one's willing to consider that they might be wrong. Everyone is standing on the same hill, shouting from their own fortress of certainty, believing that truth is a prize to be claimed instead of a conversation to be had. We've all seen this, in families, in communities, on social media, in politics. Two sides digging trenches, not to protect their people, but to protect their egos. Because to admit uncertainty, to entertain doubt, would be to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers, and for some, that feels like weakness. But it's not weakness. It's strength. Real strength is not about being unshakable. It's about being flexible without breaking. It's about being curious in the face of complexity. It's about asking hard questions and not rushing to easy answers. There's a quiet dignity in saying, I don't know. There's power in saying, tell me more. There's courage in realizing that your truth might not be the whole truth. We need more of that kind of strength, the kind that listens, the kind that evolves, the kind that makes space for other perspectives without immediately trying to argue them away. Because when you believe you know everything, you close the book on learning, and when that happens, the story of who you could have become is cut short. People who stop growing don't stay the same. They slowly move backwards. Their world shrinks. Their conversations become repetitive. Their thinking becomes brittle. It's like a plant that's no longer reaching for the light. It doesn't die right away. But its leaves lose their color. Its soil dries up. And eventually, what once was vibrant becomes something much less alive. And what's truly tragic is that many don't even realize it's happening. They call it wisdom, but it's actually awareness. They call it realism, but it's fear in disguise. Let me be clear, wisdom is not the absence of questions. It is the refinement of questions. Realism is not the rejection of hope. It's the anchoring of hope in awareness. Staying alert means being attuned to these subtle shifts, not just in others, but in ourselves. It's not just about spotting arrogance or ignorance out in the world. It's about noticing when we ourselves are starting to harden. Are we still listening to people who challenge us? Are we still willing to admit when we're wrong? Are we still learning? Not just facts, but perspective. Are we having conversations that stretch us, or only those that comfort us? These are the questions that keep the door open. Because every time you say, I know, you risk building a wall. But every time you say, help me understand, you're building a bridge. Some of the wisest people you'll ever meet don't speak in absolutes. They speak in questions. They hold tension without rushing to resolve it. They make peace with not knowing because they understand that the world is far too complex, too vast, too dynamic for any one person to fully master. So what can we do? Start by listening. not just to others, but to your own assumptions. Notice where you resist change, where you push away ideas too quickly, where you dismiss others without truly hearing them. Be suspicious of your own certainty, not in a way that paralyzes you, but in a way that softens you. Let doubt be your companion, not your enemy. Let questions be your fuel, not your fear. And most of all, stay curious about the world, about people, about yourself. Curiosity is not just for children. It's a survival skill for adults, what keeps us learning, adapting, and relating. It's what opens new doors. It's what brings light into the dark rooms of our thinking. The moment we lose that curiosity, we begin to lose our edge, our imagination, our empathy. Because curiosity is the bridge between what we know and what we might discover, and that bridge must be walked daily. Let us not wait until crisis forces us to change. Let us not need to be broken before we're willing to bend. Let us not become so fixated on being right that we forget how to be real. There is freedom in saying, I don't have all the answers. There is integrity in saying, I was wrong. There is wisdom in saying, let me learn. So stay alert, stay awake, stay open. Because the most dangerous sign in a person is not the mistakes they make, not the fears they carry, not even the failures they face. It's the quiet voice that says, I've arrived. I don't need to grow anymore. That's when the soul begins to dim. That's when we stop being students of life and become statues of who we once were. Don't become a statue. Become a student, again and again and again. The journey inward is never complete. There's always more to explore, always more to heal, always more to understand. What does it mean to be a student? Not just in school, not just in a classroom, but in life. It means carrying a mindset that stays open to experience. A mindset that doesn't cling to identity as something fixed or final. A student is someone who understands that life is not a script to memorize, but a landscape to navigate. A student lives with the understanding that every day brings an opportunity to learn, not just about facts and information, but about people, emotions, patterns, wounds, and the stories we tell ourselves. A statue, in contrast, is fixed. It's meant to be admired, not to evolve. It stands in one place, cast in stone, unmoving, unbending, unchanged. At some point it was shaped, sculpted, and then it stopped becoming. It was declared finished. And that is precisely what makes a statue a powerful metaphor for inner stillness, the wrong kind of stillness, the kind that comes from believing that growth is optional, or that we've gone as far as we can go. When we turn ourselves into statues, we risk forgetting that life is movement, it is adaptation, it is response, it is curiosity. The wind changes direction, and those who are too rigid are the first to fall. But the student, the one who keeps learning, keeps bending, keeps listening, finds new ways to move forward. They don't just survive change, they evolve with it. Being a student means choosing humility over pride. It means understanding that to grow is not to weaken, but to become wiser. Think about the last time you changed your mind. The last time you looked back on who you were and felt both gratitude and disbelief. That is growth, that is learning, and that is the work of someone who refuses to become a statue. But why is the journey inward so critical? Because no matter how much we explore the world outside, if we do not understand ourselves, our fears, our motivations, our assumptions, we will remain lost. The map of the outer world is only useful if we can read the compass of our own inner world. We often hear that self-awareness is power, but more than power, it is peace. It allows us to stop reacting out of old wounds. It lets us pause before we speak. It teaches us to listen not just with our ears, but with our presence. And this kind of awareness does not come from achieving. It comes from observing, from being still, from reflecting, from listening deeply to the parts of us we usually ignore. To heal is not to erase the past. It's to understand how it shaped us, and to choose how we carry it forward. It's about recognizing the voices in our head, the ones that say, you're not enough, or you'll always fail, or no one understands you, and asking, where did you come from, and are you still true? That kind of internal work takes time. It takes intention. It takes courage. Because it means facing things we'd rather avoid. It means sitting with discomfort rather than distracting ourselves from it. It means forgiving parts of ourselves we were taught to be ashamed of. It means finding softness in places where we once hardened to survive. You see, the journey inward is not linear. It doesn't move in neat steps or logical progression. Sometimes you feel like you're going backward. Sometimes you unlearn before you learn. But each step, even the ones that feel like detours, brings you closer to something honest, To understand yourself is to stop living on autopilot. It's to stop blaming others for your triggers and start asking, why does this hurt so much? It's to stop avoiding silence and start embracing it as a space where truth can speak. And this journey never ends. You don't arrive at self-awareness and then check it off your list. Just when you think you understand yourself, life changes. A new relationship challenges your patterns. A loss reveals grief you hadn't touched in years. A success awakens old fears of unworthiness. A child is born and you realize you've never truly confronted your own childhood. So again, you begin. You stay a student. You peel back another layer. You meet yourself again, maybe softer this time, maybe stronger, maybe both. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of being alive. The world is not in need of more perfect people. It needs more honest ones. People who are willing to admit they don't have it all figured out. People who are courageous enough to ask for help. People who are kind enough to say, I was wrong. People who know how to hold their beliefs with conviction and humility at the same time. Imagine what our relationships would look like if we entered them as students, not judges. If we listened to understand, rather than to defend. If we saw conflict not as a threat, but as an opportunity to learn something new about ourselves or the other person. Imagine what our workplaces could be like if leaders stayed students. If titles didn't mean the end of learning, but the beginning of deeper responsibility to remain curious and humble. If power wasn't the ability to control others, but the ability to keep questioning oneself. The world doesn't need more statues. It needs more people who are willing to bend, to shift, to break when necessary, and then to rebuild themselves not out of stone, but out of understanding. Being a student requires resilience. It means you'll make mistakes. You'll unearth uncomfortable truths. You'll sometimes wish you could go back to the simplicity of certainty. But over time, you'll find that living with open hands is far more freeing than living with a clenched fist. You'll see that vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. It is strength in motion. It is what allows love to flourish, creativity to emerge, healing to begin. And so, don't be afraid to be unfinished. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know yet. Don't be afraid to change your mind, to soften your heart, to let go of what no longer serves you. The world may push you to harden, to posture, to project a version of yourself that looks untouchable. But you don't have to follow that path. Choose depth over image. Choose growth over comfort. Choose the messy, unpredictable, beautiful path of becoming. Because when you live as a student, you live awake. You live alive, you live real. And that, more than anything, is the antidote to the silent danger of believing you've already arrived. So again I say, don't become a statue. Become a student. Again and again and again. The real danger isn't out there. It's not in what others believe or do. It's in what we stop believing about ourselves. That we can change, that we can learn, that we can keep growing. So may you never stop asking questions. May you never stop reflecting. May you never stop becoming. Because the most dangerous sign in a person isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It whispers, I already know. Let that never be the final word in your story. Thank you.